All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's exciting webinar on driving the future, making India the global hub for e-tractor manufacturing, where leaders from industry, government, and academia will explore the opportunities for making India the global leader in e-tractor manufacturing. We are thrilled to have so many of you joining us today, and we explore this transformative topic. We have an incredible lineup of distinguished speakers who bring diverse expertise and insights to today's discussion. We have with us Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Deputy General Manager of Green Climate Finance Vertical, SIDBI, Mr. Hemant Kumar, Founder and CEO of Bulwark Mobility, Shri Amit Kumar Mishra, Assistant General Manager, EV Policy at InvestUP, Shri Prashant Dubey, Faculty at BIRD, NABARD, Ms. Neha Gupta, Lead Clean Mobility at OMI Foundation, Mr. Amod Kumar, Managing Director and CEO of Sukoon Solutions Private Limited, Mr. Pankaj Goyal, COO and Founder, AutoNext Automation Private Limited, and Mr. Anuj Kumar, Product Specialist, CNH Industries. I would now like to hand this over to Mr. Madhav Pai, CEO of WRI, for his opening remarks. Thank you, Madhav.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sama. Welcome everyone to this webinar on e-tractors. It's a very exciting moment for us at WRI India. We've been working on the agenda of electrification of transport for a while now. But I think this intersection of the electrification of transport and the agricultural sector, which is also so key to India from perspective of the number of people it employs and the food security and other perspectives, right? So India is a leader in tractor, it's a tractor market. We produce, I think, something like 2 million. There are 2 million tractors produced globally, and we make half of them in India, close to half of them in India. It's also a big export market. About 12% of the tractors made in India are exported. So I think, but at the same time, it's a big consumer of diesel. Also, on all of the challenges of getting diesel to where the tractors are, etc., is also another challenge. On the separately, as we talk about the 500 gigawatt goal that India has set itself by 2030, I mean, we're on renewable energy. There is a thought of how to get the agriculture sector to actually be uptake about 100 gigawatts of that sort of renewable energy, right? So, and we have started to also see where the PM Kusum and other schemes which are there to really drive the adoption of sort of RE in agriculture. So I think these electric tractors actually fit very well in that agenda as well. I think there is a nice intersection. I mostly work and have worked and lived in cities, but I do travel. And what I in smaller villages, one of the things I've been surprised at is also the uptake of like e-rickshaws, and especially in places where I would not have expected. But it's clear that the access to fuel is also a big challenge, and now with the availability of reliable electricity both through the grid and through also the sort of access to renewable energy, to distributed renewable energy, I think it just makes sense because all of those empty kilometers of driving and the productivity loss also then gets eliminated. And I think some of that also applies very well, in the sort of when we start to look at the tractor use case. Of course, I think product fit is the challenge, I think, and making sure that we build a product. I mean, I think tractor is a great, the story of the sort of tractor in small size tractor in India, with Mahindra and then John Deere actually doing whole product innovation around a tractor that's fit for the Indian market. So I think tractor innovation clearly is a space that we have shown leadership. And I think if we can bring this now to this whole electric tractor transition, and that is really the opportunity. And with all of these sort of triple goals of, in a way, improving sort of agricultural incomes, achieving the sort of CO2 reduction goals, and at the same time sort of helping increase productivity around agriculture, which is a sector that is always struggled on productivity. So I think good moment. I think as India builds all of its industry and all of these sort of ancillary systems to drive electrification of transport, so the battery, the storage, the other kinds of ecosystem development that will happen. So I think what are the additional policy things that we need to do to take advantage of all of these sort of big investments that are being made to sort of drive the electric mobility or electric transport ecosystem. And then again, there's investments in workforce development, there's investments in R&D. All of this is actively happening. What are the sort of 5% things we need to do that tractor ecosystem can take advantage? I think that's really the opportunity. And then really just taking advantage of really setting targets, and then building a roadmap so that we are able to really take advantage of this whole electric transition, actually become leaders, continue our leadership in tractors, both India and globally. And so I think this webinar is really a starting point of these larger conversations. I know the team has been doing some little experiments around the use of tractors. So hopefully they will share that, and we would love to then hear thoughts and feedback from all of you. So thank you very much once again, everyone, for joining this conversation. Thank you to all of our experts who have also joined us. Your inputs will be extremely useful. And both we are happy to help you think through in any way if you need any research and data support. Also, we are also happy to also engage with the policy ecosystem to see how we can advance this agenda. So with that, thank you very much again to everyone for joining, and look forward to an exciting conversation over the next hour and a half. So over to you, Sama.
Thank you so much, Madhav. Now, I would like to hand this over to Yash Pratap Singh, our Senior Program Associate for WRI India, for a context-setting presentation and a brief video. Over to you, Yash.
Sure, thanks, Sama. Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I'll take you all to a very short presentation today just to set the context for the today's webinar on driving the future, making India the global manufacturing for e-tractor manufacturing. Following up with the agenda, so today we have a distinguished speaker among with us to discuss around the policies, financial mechanism, business models from the lens of manufacturing, moderated by Sharvari. So I'll just quickly start with the global tractor landscape. So we have a market size was valued around 73 billion in 2022, which is poised to grow from 77 billion to 119 billion by 2031, growing at a CAGR of 5.52%. So if you're looking at the European tractor market, which was valued around 13.8 billion, which is also growing as a CAGR of 3.3 billion, 3.3 CAGR, and reaching to 16.7 billion by 2027. And US tractor market is also increasing from 23.7 billion in 21 with a CAGR of 0.25% to the 24.5 billion. But the US Climate Protection Act is also advocating a full-fledged support to advance the electric tractor procurement in US, and Chinese government is also giving a lot of financial incentives that the government support to increase the high power HP tractor in the market. And if you look at the Southeast Asia agriculture tractor market is projected to grow from USD 2.4 billion to 3.414 billion, which is very interesting to look at the 2.43 billion, and the other European and the US have like 23.72 around maximum number. So this can be lead from the kind of support we can require from the government and the other policymakers. So if we look at the national tractor landscape, so we have analyzed the 10 years cumulative tractor sales in India. We have found that UP is leading the maximum number of tractor sales with more than 10 lakhs, preferably with the potential of their high number of agricultural base there, following with the Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Maharashtra, with the high degree of mechanized farming practices there. We have also seen from the last 10 years data, we have seen a remarkable expansion over the last decade driven by the increasing demand for agricultural mechanization. So we found that 10.12% we have seen in 2022 to 23 increase, and we have seen 8.84 in 23 to 24. So why there is a need for electrification? So we all know that there is a decrease in the agricultural labor. 40% of population engage in the farming activity, which is estimated to decrease 26% by 2050. And we all have an increase in food demand, which is also growing from 329 metric ton to 400 metric ton by 2050. And there will be a tends to need to increase the agricultural profits for increasing productivity through quality and quantity, reduction in the operational cost. This all will tends to have a need for farm mechanization. When there is a need for farm mechanization, there are efforts to required to control the carbon emissions, to decreasing diesel dependency, and to increase the farmer's income by maintaining the operational costs. And these will all tends to have a need for electric tractors. So we also look at the global electric tractor market, which grew from 780 million in 23 to USD 902 million, and which is also expected to grow at a very substantial stage of CAGR of 16.14% to 2.2 billion by 2030. And what are the key drivers which is influencing the market growth include the battery technology advancement, increasing government incentives, and the rising awareness of sustainable farming practices. The market is also inherently dynamic, influenced by technological innovation, legislative policies, and the consumer preferences. So we all know that there are a lot of central incentives and state incentives to start establish the early market tractor adoption in India. So few central schemes like SMAM, PM Kusum, and NABARD loans are giving a lot of farmers, allowing farmers to buy tractors by providing 30% of subsidy for tractors with a 15% of down payment. SMAM is giving subsidies for agricultural equipment. Look at the central states, UP and Bihar. UP is giving 50,000 subsidy for 20 HP tractor and 75 for power tiller. So if we can also start, reducing the, if we can encourage to reduce the subsidy for diesel tractor and start increasing the subsidy for electric tractor, so we can have some sort of penetration for the electric tractor in the market as well. And we also have a few states who started, giving the subsidies and road tax exemption and setting up the anchoring units for e-tractor manufacturing for electric tractors. So we have till 2024, we have seen as per the Vahan, 11 electric tractors have been registered in India. So it's a good move to start the acceleration happen in the electric tractor ecosystem. So I'll just stop here and hand over to Sharvari to moderate the panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sama, for opening the seminar. Madhav, thank you so much for your opening remark. And as you rightly mentioned, e-tractor, which is an extremely versatile equipment, which sits at the cross section of transportation and agriculture, we being bullish about decarbonization of both. So this conversation becomes very, very important. And other thing which we have to kind of note that we produce 45% of global tractors today, and sharing almost 12% of the export component, which makes us one of the most potential nation to pick up on this technology transition. And how do we maintain our leadership even after technology transition when tractor becomes electric tractor? So that's the reason today's webinar is focusing on particularly on the how do we make India as a manufacturing hub for electric tractor. Of course, there is a host of policy support and awareness which we need to do to ensure that the domestic market for electric tractor flourished. There are multiple challenges such as high capital cost, lack of awareness, less financing option. I think both these problems will need to be solved simultaneously. And today we are extremely thankful for our all distinguished panel. We have an amazing mix of distinguished speakers today. We have representation from policymaker, we have representation from financing, think tank, and one of the most important stakeholder when we talk about manufacturing, OEMs. We have more than 40 OEM legacy as well as startups. So with that background, I want to start with first question, which I want to kind of direct it to Shri Amit Kumar Mishra ji from InvestUP. Sir, UP has very clearly laid out their vision for innovation, sustainability, and industrial growth. UP has been, if we remember the map we seen earlier, UP is one of the biggest domestic consumer for electric tractor. How do you think InvestUP can align its vision to establish Uttar Pradesh as global hub for electric tractor manufacturing? What specific policy intervention and support mechanism we can introduce so that we maintain our leadership position as a country globally when the technology transition happens from tractor to electric tractor? Amit sir, over to you.
Good afternoon all. Thank you. And I'm audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
InvestUP is the nodal agency for the 27 plus policies in which the EV policy is also mentioned. For e-tractor, not any separate segment for the subsidy, but we are also touched with the WRI team and some OEMs last 2 to 3 months for the addition of e-tractors, subsidy and facilities in our policy. We are also discussed with the OEM to set up a manufacturing plant in UP for initiative of addition of the some subsidy and some incentives in our policy, because without any initiative we can't include any subsidy clause in our policy. Some approval stages are in government sector, so we are initiated it, and last meeting we done with the CO Pankaj Goyal ji AutoNext, and we suggest that to set up a manufacturing plant in UP for, and we will help him to provide the subsidy under the industrial policy, which is up to 30% category wise, which is very segment wise, like investment cost. What is the budget for the investment? It's a mega category, large category, or ultra mega category. Then he's working on it and try to prepare the DPR, which is the first step to impaneled in InvestUP. And I think Pankaj Goyal is working on it. Last meeting is also discussed with the CEO. He is also inviting him to come InvestUP office and meet with the CEO. Then Pankaj Goyal is also ensure me that he comes to meet and submit their proposal to InvestUP for the setup manufacturing plant in UP. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That's encouraging, and probably OEMs would be happy to see government supporting the manufacturing setups under industrial policy. One of the another important aspect of this overall adoption, I will come back to you, Amit, if time permits, for the next question. I want to now bring Prashant ji from NABARD into the conversation. Sir, NABARD can design innovative financing levers and incentive and support structure. How do you think that small and marginal farmers can take benefit of these things, leveraging the rural financing expertise? And how do we ensure that we promote sustainability and we also empower underserved regions and the rural livelihood? Because electric tractor could not only become a source of agriculture mechanization, but when integrated with renewable energy, can also act as a battery storage, and we'll come to the technicalities also. But how do we think that this empowering underserved regions and rural livelihood can be done through innovative financing?
Thank you. Thank you, Sharvari. As you told, I represent NABARD, of course. I'm from NABARD, currently faculty at, we have a training establishment in Lucknow, Bird Lucknow. So as all of you know, you may be knowing that we are a refinance institution, of course. Our mandate is to refinance, and our responsibility is to support the development finance in the country. Of course, if you say e-tractor, it is no way different from say it's a prime mover, right? As good as a tractor. Only the source of power is different from a diesel to say electric power, like with any e-vehicle. So certainly, we have been doing policy advocacy for say supporting some innovative products, some innovative technologies, of course, and we have been say acting as a link between the regulator, that is RBI, and the government of India, of course, in matters of policy, in the matters of financing advocacy. Not only that, if I don't know, many of you may have followed COP28 at Dubai, last COP, not this one, which happened. So for the first time, it was discussed that food supply chain is one of the major emitters of GHG emissions. One third of the GHG emission that come from the food supply chain, if I'm right. So out of that, if you say the food production, food transportation, and food consumption, of course. So food production, if I say, it is say major consumer of energy, right from tilling the land up to the say harvesting, then transportation,
Sure.
entire supply chain. It requires a lot of energy. So certainly we need to pitch in the form of providing say green energy or renewable sources of energy. RBI also in its priority sector guidelines has given space for renewable sources of energy as a separate item. Earlier it was not there. Of late, it has been introduced. So certainly, as a regulator, RBI is doing its part. It has, say, talked a lot about green credit also. So that also is the area where the financial institutions and banks, they can pitch in. A lot of things has been talked about: climate finance, green finance. At Bird also, we are say pooling in different financial institutions, including bankers, even non-banking financial companies, that those who are interested in doing climate financing or green financing. So certainly e-tractor is going to be one of the items for them. And we have, see, different types of fund under which we promote certain innovations. We have a farm sector promotion fund under which we promote proven technologies which are already established to say stakeholder groups. We have a climate change fund. Those who are interested in popularizing these types of technologies, they can very well pitch in and approach NABARD for say taking advantage of it. All civil society organizations, NGOs, even corporates, startups, they are eligible to take advantage of these types of funds, wherein they can take support from us for promoting and popularizing the say this e-tractor or any other, say not only e-tractor, anything where any machine. In the future, it may be e-combine harvester, it may be e-harvester. Anything is possible in the future where say we can say work on saving energy and also promoting the green energy. If you come to my Bird campus, I'm telling you, entire our rooftop of the academic building, we have entire this solar cells fitted, and we are saving a good amount. So that is also one of the things when you come to the Bird campus. And certainly we will pitch in whenever required, provided it proves as a product and it meets the entire requirement, testing, and of course the financing requirement is there from the banks also. It should be properly tested. It should be not only that, its performance standard has to be tested. So certainly we are going to support it. No way any hindrance will be there. Thank you, Shavali.
Thank you so much, Prashantji. So, and thank you so much for the invitation. We will definitely make it a point. Whenever we are in Lucknow, we will visit your campus to see green initiative you have done. And I'm gonna come back to OEMs when we discussed about testing and performance. But before that, I want to bring Neha ji from OMI Foundation into the discussion. You have been working on electric tractor. You have been crunching some number. As per your calculation, also 30% saving could be possible over a period of 5 years for electric tractor. How do you think that? What are the strength we should leverage? One, for adoption, TCO should work, we agree. But from making manufacturing hub, India becoming manufacturing hub for electric tractor, what are the strength as per you we should leverage? And how do we ensure that we keep innovating in the product as per your research? Neha, over to you.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Sharvari. Hope I am audible.
Yes, you.
Thank you. So yes, we have observed even in, during the process of entire adoption of electric vehicles as well, there's always a push and a pull, right? So when we actually talk about manufacturing, years ago, I just happened to meet Mr. Sinha, and he was also highlighting the same, that it was like the government, the Indian government was actually going to the manufacturers, and it was like, can you please manufacture the EVs, indigenously in India? But where was the pull? So similarly now electric tractors. So it's really important to just see to it what kind of pull factors are there, because we of course agree that there has been a mechanization in the agriculture sector, and then there have been schemes and bodies like SAMAM which have been talking about the same. And but how do we actually segregate? Because based on the usage, if we actually consider the Indian market per se, most of the farmers, at least like around 65 to 70% of the farmers, they are small landowners, right? So not more than 1 hectare they have at their disposal, and the kind of land which they mostly use, which they mostly plow on a daily basis. Say, for instance, it's like around 10 acres, 15 acres or so, right? And how's the any tractor used by them? It's not just for plowing in that case, it's also for commuting, right? It's also for
Yes.
other uses. So even for like for instance static generation, and then even uses a trailer. So it's really important to see to it what are the use cases of a tractor in a market like India, vis-a-vis, say, definitely China and US also have the similar kind of small farm land concept. But what is the utility that we are bringing to the table? What are the pull factors, right? Similarly, we should of course be cognizant of the fact that because of this, the kind of R&D, the kind of innovation that need to go in the manufacture of these kind of tractors will be different, right? And then again, when we actually talk about the electric tractors, the key important factor, not just for electric tractors, in fact, for any EV, is the infrastructure that is available. So when it's again, a kind of a closed loop operation. When we actually, like, for instance, talk about electric trucks, you would know that, right? So when we talk about electric trucks, there's a closed loop operation. Similarly, over here, if it's a closed loop operation, if we consider what is the kind of charging that we foresee, do we really need a fast charging? And as concurrently, can we have that kind of manufacturing then for a tractor? Or do we need really, are we sufficed with the slow charging, or even can a battery swapping work over here, right? So all these factors, of course, need to be taken into consideration when we are thinking about the push factor, which is the supply side, which is of course the manufacturing end. Now, there are examples which we can get hold of from the EV sector overall, and there have been PLI schemes. But when it actually comes to schemes like these, of course, there are manufacturers sitting over here, they would highlight more on this. How successful has been these kind of schemes? Have they been really inclusive enough? Which are the kind of players that have actually been encouraged, or they have really been facilitated through these kind of PLI schemes or so, right? Have they only been the observation has been that most of these players have been the larger players, right? Because the demand is the same. We need a cell, we need mining. We of course need minerals like lithium, cobalt. We need, because we need the cell, we need the battery pack, we need the powertrain. The requirement is almost the same when it comes to an electric tractor vis-a-vis any kind of EV. So in that case, what has been the experience of setting up manufacturing bases for these different EV components, or for that matter even say an electric car or an electric truck or so. So what have been the schemes like these? Are are the PLI schemes sufficient enough? If they have been, definitely then they can of course be rolled out to say form factors like tractors. So and yes, like you rightly pointed out, India is one of the 3 top exporters and manufacturers, and then of course exporters as well globally. So when it comes to tractors, that can of course be then extrapolated to electric tractors. But the key requirement is, how are we working on the supply chain, which any new introduction is facing an issue with. We happen to work in the space of electric LCV, same kind of issues. What are we going to do with the battery pack? Because now the requirement would be a dual battery pack. What are we going to do with the powertrain? What are we going to do with, say, for instance, the controllers, the motors, similar kind of things over here? So how are we going to develop that supply chain? What are the kind of policy supports that are going to be there? Say PLI, if we talk about manufacturing, or say any kind of policy support, say the financial support as well to the industry as well. Can they get the loans at a cheaper rates? Can this be considered as a sector which is because of course the government is actually rolling out incentives not just for electric tractors, so as of now no, but yes of course for the diesel tractors as well. So can those be of course be extended to the manufacturers as well? So from the financial institutions, from the NBFCs, can we have some customized loan products specifically for this particular sector? So all these things need to be taken into account, and I truly believe that there are good case studies, good stories already coming from the EV sector that has been there in India, and of course that's a success story. But as
You have raised, yes, absolutely. So you have raised absolutely pertinent questions. Thank you so much. And I think there are 2 things which we'll need to discuss. One, you've spoken about supply chain, and then you've spoken about how do we ensure that startup companies or even the legacy player get enough financing to kind of expand their production line. So fortunately we have both the parties on the webinar. So I'm gonna probably bring Pankaj ji on the supply chain issue. So one of the key aspect of overall making India as a global hub for electric manufacturing is the supply chain strengthening. Along with that, we also need to think about the localization of component. There has been multiple discussions about push and pull factor. Neha ji have covered that in her speech. So as per your understanding, and I'm going to probably take similar question to other OEMs like Heymanji and even New Holland as well. But starting with you, Pankaj, how do you think our country can prepare ourselves for establishing a sturdy supply chain for electric tractor manufacturing when we still maintain the aim of becoming the manufacturing hub for the globe?
So first of all, thank you to you all for setting up this forum and bringing all these experts from different walks of the ecosystem. Really very important. This is one of the very important things where we can share ideas and express our views. So coming back to the question, so India has been a platform for the largest manufacturer for tractors. So in terms of the traditional tractor, we have quite a good base here in India. We have the know-how or how the tractor is used. We have the know-how how it is to be designed for what kind of different applications of agriculture, haulage, whatever. So we are fortunate to be in that ecosystem. So in terms of the application of the tractor, in terms of the traditional pieces of the tractor, yes, it's very much present, and I think one can access thanks to the old government originated designs. There are less copyrights and things, and people have access to a big part of the machine. Now coming to the EV part of it, I mean EV, if you look at there are so if you go in high voltage EV versus a low voltage system, there are very simple things like connectors. There are a number of connectors which are used both for power as well as for signal. And I must share the frustration or my disappointment that we don't have these manufactured in India, or there are not enough. There are very few manufacturers in India. Most of these, or large part of this, is imported, and I feel really bad that we are talking about on one side, India becoming number one for automobile, number one for this and that, and we don't have a very simple basic things like connectors. For that, we have to rely on imports, and we know what has happened in COVID. There's been a lot of supply chain disruption, the delivery and we were simply cut off. Many of the projects were, or many of the product lines were stranded. So we need to have self-sufficiency in that area. That is one specific area that I mentioned. Then if we talk about the other more bigger components like the charger or DC-DC, very simple things. Again, you hit a wall. So now with an extensive work, we are coming to a situation where we are starting to, get a handle on that, and we are starting to find suppliers who are willing to do this in India. But largely, it is imported. Then if we come to the motor controller and those areas, again, very, very similar situation. There are a lot of startups who have come in. They have built their entire powertrain, including the controller, but these are not widely experimented, used, and then, of course, the reliability remains to be, seen and developed. So as a e-tractor manufacturer or a startup or a new company, you come in, you want to reduce your risks with the newer components, you want tried and tested. That way, the EV industry all across India is it's infancy, or the nascent stage, I would say.
Yeah.
We have a long way to go. Then not only the manufacturer, I mean, when you talk about skills or know-how on especially the electronics and hardware, again, it's not that bad a situation, because we've had the R&D centers of the best of the world companies when it comes to hardware and electronics. But there are very few Indian manufacturers who have invested in those R&D for Indian market. They've been our R&D folks have been on the engineering service side, supporting or working for an R&D center in Europe or R&D center in US or one of these countries abroad. But the companies in India have not invested. And I would say largely my experience when I've gone around the world, set up R&D centers in India as well as abroad, and run businesses as much as €500 million. I really see that Indian business houses are shy of investing in R&D. Even the largest of the houses, I have a lot of respect for our big business houses, but when it comes to the world level, the largest of the business houses, they are shy of investing in the core R&D. What has started happening is you have platforms now. Mahindra has come with number of platforms. Tata has come with number of platforms. There are a lot of three-wheeler commercial and passenger, new companies, predominantly startups, which have come up. Two-wheeler, again, predominantly startup. The established ones are not really there. So I must say that I am disappointed in terms of the strategic orientation of the Indian corporate and maybe the government to incentivize and to mandate these big businesses to establish India as a powerhouse. So we say that we are the powerhouse, we're going to be the AI powerhouse of the future. I'm really, you look at what is happening in China already in terms of the deployment of AI. We are talking about setting up the AI centers. There is already application of AI that is massively happening on number of products. Leave aside, anything on the road. You have drones, which are now, they have recently had a science fair, sorry, not a science fair, a tech fair, where there are drones which are displayed for both for passenger as well as commercial applications. While here we are only using drones for spraying pesticides. So we are far behind, and I really think that we need to invest a lot more in the fundamental research, where government needs to come in, the big corporate needs to come in, and of course the startups are doing their bit what they can with the limited amount of the access to money that they have. This is my take in terms of the supply chain. Coming back to the core question of the supply chain for EV, I think the vendors are looking for that money, which they, being new in this field, supplying to new company like ours, where the banks are asking them for established business or the P&Ls for last 6 years or 7 years, without which they don't even talk to you. They need collateral. So leave aside the OEM manufacturers like new ones like us. The component manufacturers, they don't have access to money. It's very hard. You have to put your own house or property as a collateral to get any money. The orders or PO from a new company is not considered good enough, or the banks don't consider. So I think there are a lot of fundamental issues. We talk about everything is available. I'm sorry, it's not. When you go down to getting it, from any of these financial institutions, any of these technologies, it is very, very hard. Then I come to the testing side of it, you mentioned. So the good test labs are so expensive. If you talk about EMI, EMC, which plays a very, very key role in the EV, setting up the complete EV and then getting it validated for CMVR certification, it's a very expensive test. If you go to one of the established labs, for 1 hour, you have to shell out minimum 2 lakh rupees for vehicle level. And for a smaller level, it's very hard to find labs. So I think government labs can be opened up, can be expanded. There can be more rebates given for new technology, and which will allow this fundamental research or this building up of these systems to happen in a good way. So I really think that whether it is finance, the overall investment, or from the government side, from the corporate side in R&D, I think it is really required. Some of these sectors, very simple things like connectors, hardware, few components like chargers, etc. There needs to be, we need to pull some of those companies and do those here to make it at a viable level. That's my
Thank you so
take.
much, Pankaj. Yeah, thank you so much. And I think the intention of creating forums like this is precisely to pass on that message that what industry needs, what government can provide, and bridge that gap. And we have been speaking on the component, and one of the important component is also battery. So I'm going to go to Mr. Hemant Kumar from Bull's work. Hemanji, we want to briefly touch on the battery independence as well, but it's probably the very similar story of EV. I want to also ask you one more question, which is while in our ambition to become global hub, we also need to integrate the product innovation, but while keeping the efficiency, affordability, and financing support. We have to keep balancing these multiple moving pieces. How do you balance these things at Bulwarks, where you are integrating the innovative technologies, but at the same time keeping it affordable, keeping locally manufactured for globe. How are you maintaining this?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sharvari, for the question. See, coming to the aspect of battery, right? So today, I would say the situation, if you compare like 5 years back versus what is there today, the situation is definitely better. But at the end of the day, we are still dependent on heavily on China for cells, right? Either it's China or Korea. Even the Korean companies are manufacturing it in China, and it is very, very volatile. I mean, if you look at a year back versus what we are today, see, the cell prices are definitely going down, and that has a huge impact on these machines, mainly because if you look at a tractor, right, the kind of power that it requires, we may talk in terms of 30 to 50 kilowatts or 60 kilowatts, which would mean that 30 to 40% of your vehicle cost would be your battery. Now imagine if the battery cost goes up by 10%, 20%, or even in the case that we saw for the last 18 months, the battery costs have dropped by more than 50%, right? So downward trend is always good, but it is also kind of bad in terms of, let's say, if somebody has bought an inventory of 6 months worth of cells and batteries, and then the cost suddenly drops 30% down. Now you're sitting at an inventory, and that's going to cause a loss for you, because you cannot really sell it at a lower cost than what you have actually procured. So until unless we become very self-sustaining in terms of the cell production, we are going to be dependent heavily on these markets and this volatility, and that which impacts the price of the machine in a very, very big way. And I think the government scheme in terms of the PLI for cell manufacturing may pave the way with Reliance, Ola, and a couple of other entities coming into the picture. But I feel that it is still about 2-3 years away, where we start commercializing with those kind of cells available to us in terms of the tractor manufacturing. And see, today, I mean, on the other side of it, battery manufacturing has become a commodity in Indian space because of the FAME and FAME 2, wherein which it promoted a lot of indigenous manufacturing. So yes, there is an ecosystem today that is, you take cells from outside, and you have the technology, and you have the know-how, and you have the skills, and you have the availability today to manufacture battery packs, like in whatever the form factor, and even in terms of the chemistries, you want an NCA or NMC or even LFP kind of chemistry that you want, you can tailor it as per that need, and which also brings down the cost rather than importing it from outside, where you pay additional tariffs, and especially the BMS technology, which is literally the heart of the battery pack, right? So that has a bigger value. And coming to your second question, which is talking about how do you balance innovation with cost, with affordability, and every such factor. See, no matter whatever we say, India is a very, very price sensitive market, right? So if let's say a 50 HP tractor is being offered in the market for, let's say, 12 lakhs, and an electric equivalent of it, which can do the same amount of work, will be at least 1.5x of that cost, right? I mean, that's just because the components that goes into it, the people who take the machine expect that the machine has to run for 6 hours or 8 hours or whatever is the time that they do. And the only way you can ensure that is you put a bigger battery, you put a proper size motor, and everything in that. See, when you do that, like the definitely the other side of it is the cost definitely keeps going up, right? So the balance act that we do in terms of, okay, how do I kind of make sure that the affordability is there with this? I mean, if you, for the example, if you take a look at Monarch tractors, right, which is one of the leading autonomous tractors in the world today, they have made an amazing tractor, but it costs in excess of $75,000, right? And they are only able to sell it in California because of the subsidies that is being offered there. So that's kind of like even, I mean, if you I mean, it could be autonomous or it could be if you come and tell us like make a tractor at $50,000, we will make the best in the class tractors today. But the thing is, how many people will be able to afford that in India, who will be able to kind of deploy? We may deploy maybe 10 units, we may deploy 20 units, but not more than that. So finding that balance point of getting the price point versus all the innovations that we can pack in. Because if you look at the tractor market today, right, there has not been any step changes. It's been only minor, like, okay, like incremental changes. Okay, I'm gonna give an incremental of maybe 0.5% efficiency more, 0.2% efficiency more. They talk about uh, like the switch changing PTO as a huge innovation, or they talk about having CNG as a big innovation in a tractor. But what we are looking at is huge step change. Everything is completely drive-by-wire, where you can control everything through your mobile. So these are the technology leaps that we are already kind of incorporating into our machine. But on the flip side of it, how much affordability can we really do? See, as Mr. Pankaj rightly pointed out, until unless we start doing a lot of these in-houses, connectors are very expensive, batteries, cells are very expensive, motors, controllers are very expensive, mainly because we don't produce a lot of them in India.
In
So
India.
yeah, so that's where I believe that more and more adoption will drive towards it, just like how it happened in the two-wheeler and three-wheeler sector, right? Initially, the price point was high, like 2 lakhs, 1.8 lakhs, 1.9 lakhs, where the OEMs were actually selling it at a loss. But now, with the ecosystem, a lot of local players have kind of come in and doing that. So it's 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 a chicken and egg problem, wherein which until we have the
Absolutely.
customers, we are not going to produce locally, and until we are producing locally, the cost cannot be low for making the consumers have them.
Absolutely. So, one of the aim with which we are working with all of you and your guidance is essentially to take both these things simultaneously up. We need to increase domestic adoption. Fortunately, we are one of the largest consumer as well. At the same time, we need to also concentrate on the quality of the product, the versatility of the product, so that we ensure the economy of scales are hit, bringing down the cost, and that we enter into that positive reinforcement cycle. As of now, we are in that negative reinforcement cycle. So how do we do that? And I think conversations like this help us to put things together and present it to policymakers like InvestUP, so that there is a support, enough adequate support from government as well. And I think we have spoken about supply chain. I want to now bring Mr. Alok Kumar ji from Sukun Solution, because electric tractor has been like a tractor itself has been extremely versatile equipment. It has multiple usage, right from agri to transportation of construction material. Sir, how do you think that what are the key application and demand trends you have seen as a OEM in the market, particularly for smaller HP models? Have you seen any changes happening globally in that trend? Are people moving towards higher and higher HP or lower HP? And how do we find this insight which can help us to become global hub, so that we develop right product which is required by end consumer? Because ultimately everyone has to serve what end consumer needs. So your take on applications and demand trends. Hello, Amod sir.
Hello.
Yes, Amod sir, we can hear you, sir.
So, thank you very much. Actually, Sukun has been from very beginning focused to the smaller farmers or smaller, consumer, smaller, capacity to pay kind of customers. So, what we have realized is that there is a huge demand. There is definitely people are understanding the importance of these products. There are several challenges which Pankaj had highlighted, and the supply line has been very flimsy kind of supply line, because quality products are not imported from the countries like China or other countries. So those challenges are there, but our market is also very cautious. Although they're very vigilant, they're watching. They almost everywhere we go, they're keen to look at electric vehicles. The biggest opportunity I can see is that those who have purchased our vehicles are quite happy, and now we have started getting orders from their neighbors, but it's slow. The response is slow. But if you look at the capacity of the market and the potential of converting into clean electrification of equipments in farm sector, or overall impact of greenhouse gases. This is the lowest hanging fruit, because because of the low speed of the vehicles, we don't need too much of electricity, too much of energy. For example, if you know the formula of kinetic energy, it's half mv square. Any object moving contains this much of energy. So mass is the weight, and v is the velocity. So if suppose our tractors are running in a farm, say for 10 kilometers per hour, which is on the higher side of the speed. So the factor becomes 10 into 10 into 100. So that becomes 100 factor. Okay, for car, you have to design at least for 150 kilometers. Suppose it runs for 100 kilometers per hour. The factor is 10,000 times. So are you getting it? See, 100 times versus 10,000 means 100 times more than a tractor for the similar kind of similar size of vehicle. You will require that high amount of energy. So not only the battery cost, but also how will you charge it? If you are tractor, most of the tractors can be charged at the farm electricity level only. I mean, especially in our case, because we have very small kinds of machines. So we can see there is a huge potential if we could popularize it. We could alienate the fear of the customers. We are not very far from reducing a sizable amount of greenhouse gases.
No, and thank you so much for bringing back to the technical details. And we have spoken about supply chain challenges. We have spoken about the design challenges. We have spoken about the different applications. And I think each one of you have spoken about how the financing needs to be available, not only for consumer, but also from startup. And hence my last question for this webinar is to Dr. Rajendra Prasad sir, who is from SIDBI, Green Climate Finance Vertical. Sir, we want to understand that what specific financing solution can be provided so that electric tractor is more accessible and affordable, one for the consumer, but at the same time, how SIDBI can support startups in the electric tractor domain so that the financing does not become an issue. Over to you, sir.
Right, Sarvarji, thank you so much. Before I come to my actual statement about the whole issue, I would like to make a comment on what earlier panelists they have stated so far. So, in my opinion, and I may sound slightly, pessimistic on this, but one thing which is important to note is that Government of India has made suitable provisions on demand and supply side both. They have, as far as supply side things are concerned, government has already initiated in 2021 itself production linked incentive scheme, and tractor is one of the sectors which is eligible under that. Auto components, including tractor components, then battery manufacturing, that is eligible category. As far as demand side is concerned, there is capital subsidy, there is interest subvention, and then there is credit guarantee. So if somebody is not able to give any collateral or anything, even credit guarantee is available. So in my personal opinion, this is a right kind of environment for any industry to flourish. So probably if for some reasons industry is not doing good, and I do not have any data about that, uh, the the uh, the the responsibility is purely with the stakeholders. We have not been able to create the market. We have not been able to pass on the knowledge to the people who are important in this segment. And if we are able to do that, probably we have done half the battle is already won. Coming to how SIDBI can do and what SIDBI can do as far as this particular segment is concerned. So, as you are aware, we have a program called EV for Eco. And under this program, we have committed on our own to create assets in 2- and 3-wheeler segment. And these are primarily for commercial purposes. And largely to the extent that about 80 to 85% of that target we have been able to meet so far. We have also assisted to some of the NBFCs who are into EV segment. And you will be surprised to know that while large number of banks and FIs, they lend to NBFCs which are best in the segment. We have taken altogether different route. What we have done is those NBFCs which are not capable, which are very weak, their balance sheets are not as strong as the good ones or the financeable ones. So we have targeted those NBFCs and we are trying to extend them concessional finance. And when I'm talking about concessional finance, what I mean is that resources as far as Indian banks or Indian FIs are concerned, they are as dear to me as they are to any other organization. But what we have been able to do is that we have been raising resources from overseas markets. We are blending this. And at the same time, we have also launched certain risk sharing facilities, because these are two important components. One is the pricing of the loan, and second one is the security or safety of the loan. So if we are able to ensure these two, then again, we are able to ensure the demand and supply side requirements of the industry. That is what we have done. And as far as startups are concerned, we have a dedicated vertical in SIDBI, and we invite any and every kind of startup to run through us. And we would be more than happy if projects are financeable. We would be more than happy to assist them. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Rajendra. That is helpful, and I think we will conclude webinar by one very short video, which we were able to shoot during the trials of electric tractor, actually in one of the farm near Agra, Uttar Pradesh. Before that, in a nutshell, if we have to summarize that, we have supply chain challenges to work on. We have to create bankable projects so that NBFCs can support us with financing. And we simultaneously also need to innovate product and integrate new technologies without forgetting the price sensitivity, which can become, these three things can become a recipe for making India a manufacturing hub for electric tractor. With that, we wish to thank each one of the distinguished speaker and each one of the participant who attended webinar. Thank you so much, and we will keep learning more about electric tractor, creating common narrative, and making electric tractor a true reality. Thank you so much. Anya, over to you for video. We are not able to listen to audio, Anya.
Okay, just give me 1 second.
Sure.
Anya, while sharing the video, you'll have to select the option of sharing the sound also when you're sharing your
I
screen.
think I did that, but let me just reshare.
Sure. And while Anya does that, I have a very quick question to all OEM present. Do you think electric tractor, while integrated with renewable energy under schemes like PM Kusum, can become a battery storage solution as well, which can help us in rural electrification and power outage problem? Very quick, like one line reply till the time Anya pulls. Anybody can go.
Yeah.
I mean, see,
Go ahead, Hemant. Yeah.
yeah, sorry. So, I mean, yes, there is definite option of having captive power, especially renewable in terms of solar and those kind of things. But the issue is the time of charge, right? So, majority of the charging happens at the evening or the night time, right? Whereas the captive power is there on the morning time. So the only way to kind of compensate is have a fast charging solution on the system where in the middle you go and charge it. But the grid balancing is something that becomes even more critical. It's not very easy for any place to have a solar farm as well. So there are some of these practical issues that kind of needs to be solved. Over to Pankaj.
Just quick addition to what you said, Hemant. So of course, what you said is very right. While if you look at the usage of a tractor by a farmer, it is season-based, unlike in the industry where it is across the year. And during those seasons, yes, they are using the tractor day in, day out. But big part of the year, I think more than 4, 5, 6 months, these tractors are sitting idle for majority of the time. And then for sure, in those situations, I think the massive amount of battery that sits on tractor like ours, 45 HP tractor has 38.4 kilowatt hour battery, which can very easily be used to power up 2-3 homes, not just that farmer's own. So certainly, I believe that they are harnessing the battery, the power of that battery, and it can be. But while I say this, we also, these tractors are going in the regions where the power is in a better situation, power availability is better situation. So already, you're not requiring that much of support for power outage. But yes, for storing power from solar, yes, these batteries can be certainly used.
Great. Thank you so much.
Fortunately for Sukoon segment, this goes to the small houses. So for them, it's very useful, and our tractors having a smaller battery size and smaller requirements are quite solar compatible. So even small size of solars are able to charge it, and there are some families who which use these tractors for lighting it.
Okay, that is helpful. Okay, Anya, back to you for playing the video.
All right.
Still no audio, Anya.
We hear it, Sharvari.
The audio is
Oh.
coming.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
My bad. Unable.
मेरा नाम लक्ष्मी नारायण है। मैं गांव बगदी का रहने वाला हूं, किसान का बेटा हूं। किसानी में 20 साल है किसान करते पहले मैंने डीजल के इंजन चलाए हैं, ट्रैक्टर चलाए हैं, अब ये इलेक्ट्रिक ट्रैक्टर चलाया है। ये बढ़िया अच्छा पिकअप है इसके अंदर, ट्रैक्टर के अंदर अच्छा चलता है, थकान नहीं होती है बिल्कुल इसके अंदर, वाइब्रेशन नहीं है, धुआं का बिल्कुल कोई वाइब्रेशन धुआं नहीं निकलता है इसके अंदर। ताकत अधिकायत ट्रैक्टर में अच्छी है, बढ़िया ताकत है इसके अंदर, पावर अच्छी है इसकी ट्रैक्टर की, लोड पूरा खींचता है और कोई परेशानी ना हो।
With that, thank you so much. We have overshot our time available, but thank you so much for all the distinguished speakers and all the participants. Let's learn more in upcoming series. Thank you so much.
Thank you
keep
very much,
learning.
Sharvari. Thank you, WRI, for this wonderful test. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. And I'll request that Sukun's tractor should also be included in the test that you are doing, especially in Western UP. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.